dream. My four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Welcome, everyone. And on behalf of Mayor Jerry L. Demings and the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Initiative, thank you for joining us today. I'm Monica May.
And I'm Lisa Bachman. Monica and I have the pleasure of co-chairing the Orange County Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Initiative. We look forward to sharing life and love from Dr. King's perspective all year round.
For the last 2 years during Black History Month, we've engaged the community with candid conversations, interviews with great leaders, and more.
This year, to honor Black History Month, we've created a series called Wisdom Wednesdays. Throughout the month of February, we will look at the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. during all the phases of his life.
The 4 decades of Dr. King's life will be shared, and yes, I did say just 4. He wasn't even 40 when he was assassinated. Each week, a member of the MLK Initiative and our community will share highlights of a decade in Dr. King's life. Each of our events will begin with a special reading by Dr. Earl Mowat. Dr. Earl Mowat currently serves as the Vice President of Education at One Pulse Foundation. He has a functional role in steering its vision.
We'll start in the year 1929. MLK Initiative member and author of this series, Russell Drake, will start with the Great Depression, and he'll take us through the first 10 years of Dr. King's life.
Russell will talk about Dr. King as a child prodigy and how much he hated racism. He'll talk about how Dr. King was renamed and more. Russell Drake is a Christian man, a community advocate, and determined contributor to civic causes. He clearly embodies the values of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you, Russell, for your time and dedication to putting together this entire program.
So let's get started. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. Enjoy your lunch, sit back, and let's hear more about the life of the great orator and world leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., from our very own Dr. Earl Mowat and then Russell Drake.
When we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city.
Hello, I'm Dr. Earl Mowat. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. He is the second child of 3 children. His father was a reverend, his mother, Alberta, a choir director, his grandfather, a reverend, and his grandmother, an esteemed First Lady. Martin Jr. was a child prodigy. He read dictionaries to develop great vocabulary, quickly memorized biblical verses at the age of 5, and was able to mitigate neighborhood physical altercations with his knowledge of calming words. He witnessed his father stand up against segregation and various forms of discrimination. This angered him and made him resentful. His father once said, "I don't care how long I have to live with this system. I will never accept it." Orange County Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Initiative honors Black History Month by reflecting on essential quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We are covering all 4 decades of his life. The following quotes were, as King said, "Never be afraid to do what's right, especially if the well-being of a person or animal is at stake. Society's punishments are small compared to the wounds we inflict on our soul when we look the other way." King said, "Those who are not looking for happiness are the most likely to find it, because those who are searching forget that the surest way to be happy is to seek happiness from others." King said, "The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people." And the brilliant Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also said, "We are not makers of history, we are made by history." Thank you, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
There I was, a 5th grade student in Gary, Indiana. It was Black History Month. I was trying to do a report. See, the previous year I did a Black History report on Reverend Dr. King. 2 years prior, I did Dr. Carter G. Woodson. This year, I dared to do a report on Malcolm X. I looked in the encyclopedia that my grandmother had passed down to our family, God bless her soul. And in there was a small paragraph about Brother Malcolm. No internet searches, no Wikipedia, no smartphones, no cell phones. My mom saw me struggling and came to help me. Then she got my dad to help me. Eventually, I finished the report, but I knew it wasn't as thorough as I wanted. From that day forward, I made a commitment to learn and share Black history to our people and all peoples. So today I lift the theme of doing for our people and not just our kind of people. Greetings. Greetings, Mayor Demings. Greetings, County Commissioners. Greetings to the hard workers of Orange County government. Greetings to my fellow Martin Luther King Initiative members, to Chairwoman Monica May, Chairwoman Lisa Bachman, Advisor Rhonda Robinson, distinguished staff. Thank you all for your opportunity and your leadership. I give praise and honor to God for all things. God is my rock and my redeemer. But the wind beneath my wings remain my parents. I acknowledge Attorneys MacArthur and Linda Drake and all the family that accompanies them. Loving aunts, uncles, cousins, sisters, brothers, in-laws, nieces, nephews, my daughter, all those are part of the village known as family. So it is Black History Month. Yep, started by Dr. Carter G. Woodson in the form of Negro History Week in 1926, becoming Black History Month in 1976, founded to share knowledge of the contributions, efforts, and accomplishments of Blacks across the nation and the world, as at the time, no school books reflected such. It's an interesting time because nearly 100 years ago, Dr. Woodson and others were striving to get Black books in school. And now, 2022, we hear of state policies removing books from classrooms and school libraries. But that's a whole nother talk. Let's stay the course for now. It is Black History Month, and I'm a part of the Orange County MLK Initiative. History in itself. Why is it history? I'll tell you why. If you lean in closer, like Randolph Bracey tells us, it's history because it ain't never happened before. We've never had a county MLK initiative. So it's history breaking. To quote Reverend Dr. King, we are not makers of history, we are made by history. I'll take it a first step further and say oftentimes history is getting shaped when we don't even realize it. Initiative was shaped by historical first Black mayor of Orange County, the Honorable Jerry L. Demings. So back on to the theme, doing for our people and not just our kind of people. Our Kind of People, the critically acclaimed book turned TV show that focuses on the Black upper classes and their practices and potential bourgeoisie attitudes and behaviors that follow. Dr. Mowat just eloquently gave us background information on Dr. King in his first decade of life. At the time, having a father and grandfather who were both college educated, both from the distinguished Morehouse College, can set one up for being in the Our Kind of People economic class, but not necessarily the mental class of that. Our Kind of People, making it to the top and not going back to where they came from. Our Kind of People, donating money to less fortunate, not giving them time to help them change their situations. Our Kind of People, sitting in the front row at church every Sunday and never speaking to folks that sit in the back or even turning around. Our Kind of People in the elite circles and casting down judgment on others who try to ascend to that level because they don't fit the lineage or pedigree or haven't come from that type of good stock. Our Kind of People turning their nose up at anything that doesn't have a 5-star or is not the top of the line. Our Kind of People creating roadblocks for those who have potential energy that are breaking through the glass in their own accord at young ages. Our Kind of People. Let me alter the nomenclature because that's not really our people. That's those kind of people. And let me reframe the message to say doing for our people. If we're going to do for our people, it starts at our home, starts at our churches and knowing their resources, and it starts in knowing that we all matter. So my first point, it starts at home. Here you see the King family understood the philosophy later adopted by Malcolm X, that education is the way out of poverty and the way to improve financial situations. Thus, they stressed education, not just in the school, but in churches and at home. Here you heard that Martin Jr. had to recite biblical scriptures at the age of 5 and found himself reading dictionaries to learn words to better understand. Here's my parallel. My parents had me and my siblings read newspapers every day, oftentimes riding in the car or on the bus. When we didn't know a word, we had to look it up in the dictionary. I didn't have to quote scriptures, but every summer, my grandmother sent us to Bible school. Prayerful grandparents, they've paved the way for many. I'm in that number. Dr. King was in that number. Some of you all are in that number. Dr. King said, never be afraid to do what's right, especially if the well-being of a person or animal is at stake. Society's punishments are small compared to the wounds we inflict on our soul when we look the other way. See, his family showed him the way. My family showed me the way. Your family can set the tone. They showed love and giving. Dr. King further said, those who are not looking for happiness are most likely to find it, because those who are searching forget that the surest way to be happy is to seek happiness for others. The household gives, and therefore it is happier. Give, and ye shall receive. To my next point, our churches are resources for leadership and development. See, in the eras of segregation, before there were all black schools, there were churches to teach black children, or schools affixed to the churches. Even today, churches have schools affixed to them. Out of the church came pushes to start all black public schools. Dr. King's grandfather, Reverend Williams, was instrumental in getting Booker T. Washington High School established in Atlanta, Georgia, the only school for blacks that they could attend at that time in Atlanta. Same thing happened in cities like Orlando with Jones High School, happened in Memphis, Tennessee, and other places. But even in churches, they can deviate from the genuine path in those kind of people way. See, Dr. King once said, let the churches stop trying to outstrip each other in the number of their adversaries, the size of its sanctuaries, the abundance of wealth. If we must compete, let us compete to see which can move toward the greatest attainment of truth, the greatest service of the poor, and the greatest salvation of the soul and bodies of men. He said, let's raise the bar. He further said, with churches on accord, communities and citizens have opportunities to flourish. Showing up there makes a difference. And once you receive a blessing from the church, turn around and add value to it. If you get to the point when you say you've done enough, then I think your time may be expired here. Last but not least, final point is we must know that we all matter. To quote Dr. King, we may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. Life has a way of humbling us as humans when we think we're on another plateau from others. You look at the time of Dr. King's birth, you had the Great Depression in the 30s. It showed us that. In modern day, COVID-19 has showed us we're all on the same field and everybody's eligible to take a hit from it. Yeah, there are some people who feel more knowledgeable, wiser, capable. Some people feel stronger and more agile. Those type of people, type of attitudes. They fail to understand that they are only one stroke away, one accident away, one fall away, one blood pressure decimal away, one pill away from being in a tough situation. Brothers and sisters all across, and those in the activist community, on some occasion, we try to condemn others. We don't think they're doing enough. We try to call them out, shun them, put them down. But we really should be showing love and respect for what everyone brings to the table. Half those claiming to be woke are really sleeping. We got to be lifetime students. The Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. once said, I don't care how long I have to live with this system, I will never accept it. And he worked to change it for all people. His son, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., goes on to say, the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people. If we examine closely, we see how Dr. King is molded to help our people and all people and be an everlasting voice. Lastly, he tells us that everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agreement to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. So we all matter. The bold statement that Black Lives Matter is amplified when society shows biases to the notion that all lives matter by policy or treatment in any place. See, all lives won't matter until by action it's shown that Black lives matter too. The notion of Build Black Daily is to build up those who have the most systematically taken away or been held down. And I challenge you to ask yourself, am I building Black daily? Am I performing with excellence every day? Am I giving back to communities? Am I mentoring? Am I raising my children? Am I taking care of my elders? Am I watching my neighbor's children? Am I giving people an opportunity who come with good quality with Black-owned businesses? And we just pause and consider on that. Am I building Black daily? As I come to a close, I'm going to end in a poem called Diversity, Past, Present, and Future. Some say I'm too big, too tall, too dark. They say I'm cursed. Different, unique, one of a kind. I just say diverse. If you can't accept me because I'm not you, well, you're the worst. Have you read Acts 17:27, biblical verse? Saying he has made with one blood every nation of man to dwell on all the face of the earth. That includes every man, woman, and child since birth. So you can't look me up and down and say that I'm strange. Can't label my hairstyle nor attire demented nor deranged. No need to walk away from me. We all trying to maintain, overcoming different struggles. I still get called out my name. Some people came here by choice. My people came here in chains. But that was 400 years ago. I don't have you to blame. But if I think about it too much, it could drive me insane. So I'm saying respect what I am and don't be afraid of change. Because at the end of the day, we really are all the same. One mind, one heart, one body, one brain. Regardless of race, color, creed, birthplace, nor color, you plus I equals we. We're all sisters and brothers, born to different families, friends, fathers, and mothers, put here to love, uplift, and grow one another. When one life to live and one heart to give, through all done wrong, we must learn to forgive. For a friend is made through adversity. Got to accept all diversity. Push our children to be educated and graduate from universities. For we gather here in February for this Black History Appreciation, celebrating diversity, knowing we're all God's creations, honoring the past and the present with the future in mind, taking steps to make sure our youth are not left behind, negating social media's hypocrisies and lies, making sure the human race stays alive, and trying to make sure our next set of future leaders can steadily rise. Position powers of the past, passing potential to the present by our presentations, fostering motherly and fatherly presentations for our future generations. Yes, I'm preaching and I'm teaching. DIVERSITY. That's diversity, past, present, and future. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the opportunity. One love to the top. You know I will not stop. God bless you all.
Wasn't that just a fabulous program?
It sure was.
Monica and I, along with Orange County Mayor Jerry L. Demings and the entire Orange County Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Initiative team, hope you have enjoyed learning more about the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Or maybe this was just a refresher.
Whatever you gathered, we're glad you had a chance to spend some time reflecting on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s principles, and we hope you'll share this with your friends and family. Please check our website, ocfl.net/MLK, for more information on our upcoming events. Thank you again for joining us today.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today